And you're welcome along to the Star Sports Zoom room. And it is day one of the Breeders' Cup. We have 5 races to go through here with Bill Esdaile, a resident expert over in England. And I have to introduce you to Scott Finley, who has been at how many successive
every Breeders' Cup from 1984 until the first one I missed was 2016. So.
And you tell me you're moving from Boston to upstate New York, which is the old Suffolk Downs to Saratoga.
Yeah, I'm a shipper from Suffolk Downs to Finger Lakes, which is yeah, it's pretty low level racing in New York, but it's a cute little track. So
yeah, what's Del Mar like as a track?
Del Mar is great. It's the slogan is where the surf meets the turf, and truly is literally on just off the beach. And Del Mar is a small, cute little boutique town, about 30 miles north of San Diego and about 100 miles south of Los Angeles. It's been the traditional summer venue for Southern California racing since the late 40s. The track was actually built and founded by Bing Crosby and a number of his Hollywood stars, and they would come down on the train from Los Angeles and hold court there, and it was known as where the stars would go to the races and so forth. It's traditionally been a summer racing venue. They normally race last week of July through all of August and into the first weekend in September. It's sort of like the Deauville or Goodwood of American racing, along with its counterpart Saratoga in the East. It is the best summer racing in the USA. Big purses, big attendance, huge betting turnover, and lots of Group 1 races and sort of championships are made at Del Mar. Now, back about 2014, when Hollywood Park finally shut down, Del Mar picked up for the first time ever some autumn racing dates, and that allowed them to host the Breeders' Cup for the first time in 2017. Weather's still nice in Southern California in November, just like it is in July and August. It's not quite as hot, but typically Del Mar, it's a 1 mile dirt oval. Turf course is 7 furlongs. There's a chute for 9 furlong turf races that sort of extends into the infield, but it's definitely a U.S. dirt California track, favors early speed. Horses that don't have a lot of lick early have a seriously hard time making up any ground in the straight. So you want to look for horses that can be placed early. I think on the whole, especially in the grass races, because it's a very short run-in, the European horses will tend to be at a disadvantage because the style of racing is so different.
That has probably the best summary of a racetrack I think I have ever heard. I was essentially just asking Scott what the configuration of the track was, because we know it does suit front rows. Instead, we actually got a history of almost the west coast of the US altogether, and we got a whole lot more besides. Let's get straight into it, and don't forget that we have the Pipped at the Post offer for all the Breeders' Cup races this week. And as well as that, we have some very good specials on the side. Do you fancy the Europeans to do well? Do you fancy the US to do well? And loads more besides. Let's get straight into the first one on day one, the Turf Sprint. 3 runners here for Wesley Ward. Michael O'Callaghan, Richard Hannon, and Mark Lucknan represented. And Bill was actually speaking to the trainer of Twilight Jet, Michael O'Callaghan. He's very, very sweet in the horse. He's drawn 1, which is perfect over the 5 furlongs. What do you like in the race?
Yeah, it's five European Raiders of the 12. It's difficult because you're weighing up European form, obviously, with American stateside form, and knowing how good the likes of Esdaile, Jane, and One Timer are, it's difficult for us. I mean, we'll hear from Scott in a second. Of the Europeans, I like Twilight Jet. I think the fast ground is good, track position great, trap 1. Whether he's an out-and-out 5 furlong speedball, I doubt. I think he can travel, but whether he can travel with ease. If I'm honest, I was leading towards a home winner here. I think the Americans will probably win this. The prices over here, I would probably lean towards One Timer, maybe to outrun his odds. But yeah, I wouldn't be steaming into the Europeans in this one.
Yeah, so Twilight Jet obviously has a bit to find with Goldberg's go on Curragh form earlier in the season. That was over 6 furlongs, so he's progressed over 5. Michael O'Callaghan's words to me before the show was he's never been in better form, really fancies him to run well. Will he be good enough, though, to beat the American horses, Scott?
Well, one of the key things to remember, especially with 2-year-olds, especially going 5 furlongs, is, and I had a quick look through the form, I cannot see any one of the Europeans that have ever raced on other than a straight sprint course. So keeping in mind at Del Mar, or just about every US track, they break on the far backside. They go about 2.5 furlongs into a tight bend, and then they've got about 2 furlongs on the run-in. So a horse has never been around a bend. Okay, I mean, one of them actually had a race, I think, at Kempton, and that's a good sign. And then Armour had a race at Goodwood, even though it's a straight course, it's got a bit of downhill and a uphill. But yeah, I mean, the American horses, and you have a bit of collateral form with Wesley Ward's runner. He ran at Royal Ascot and finished a really, really good second. That's which one is it now? Right, Twilight Gleaming, and also won a race at Deauville. So I fancy Wesley Ward. I think he's going to take 2 of the first 3, and not necessarily in which order, but Averly Jane would be my top pick from his yard.
Okay, so you're going with my namesake Wesley Ward in the first race. Let's get straight on to the next race, which is Wisdom Juvenile Phillies. Now, it's all about the pace here for me, Scott. Echo Zulu is obviously going to be a short enough price favourite. Will she have pace up front? She's in gate 6 as well, which means she obviously has to negotiate the passage. How do you see it panning out?
Well, I think at the highest level, the fact that there's only 6 runners show up for a Group 1 $2 million race says it all. Echo Zulu is scared away just about every 2-year-old filly in America and Europe. She looks incredibly dominant. I think she's the kind of horse that she makes her own race. I mean, she's undefeated and she can go to the front. She can sit just off. I mean, this has to be it's the shortest priced favorite of the entire meeting over the 2 days. And I would be shocked if the horse lost. So
any views, Bill?
No, she's been a bit weaker over in the betting over here in the last few days. I didn't know if Scott knew anything. She was odds on. She's now odds against because there's been money for Julius Map and Hidden Connection. But I agree with Scott. I thought she looked clear cut. I mean, I don't know too much about the dirt form, but she looks head and shoulders above these, and I'd be surprised if she wasn't heavy odds on in America.
Yeah, I mean, she's 4 to 5 in the morning line.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, sorry, Scott. It's probably one
No,
of
I
those
was going to say, I haven't really looked at the UK prices closely, but the US line maker has chalked her up at 4 to 5, which is an incredibly short price on so-called morning line over here, the tissue. They tend to try and not make a price too short on a favorite because they don't want people to bet and they don't want to be scared away betting into the tote. But this horse will go off shorter than 4 to 5. It'll go off 1 to 2, 3 to 5, and we'll know after the race if it wins. If she wins by daylight, that'll be a good value even at that price. But yeah, I can't see her being beaten.
Can't see her being beaten. That's what we want to hear from Scott's Juvenile Phillies turf. Chad Brown obviously has a brilliant record in this race. He's unveiled some very, very good horses in recent years. He is doubly represented here. We also have the Rockwell winner, Hello You, for David Loughnane, who's quite strongly represented. What do you make of this actually, Bill? Because it's obviously you have to step up and look at what Chad Brown has, but we actually have pretty strong raiders over here.
Yeah, I mean, this I thought was one of the most competitive races of the whole 2 days.
Looks like 5 or 6 to field.
Yeah, well, the strange thing is I think you've got the top 10 in the market covered by 3 or 4 points, kind of 7 to 1 down to 10, 12 to 1. So it's you're feeling a little bit blind because there's no real collateral form that ties them all in. I mean, looking at the European raiders, Hello You, she'll appreciate the strong pace. Whether she appreciates the step up in trip, I'm not so sure whether she'll definitely stay. That's the worry with her. And then you look at Cachet and Mise en Scene. I mean, they're runners, but they wouldn't be ones you'd be knocking people out the way to go and bet. It looks wide open. Koala Princess, Pizza Bianca. I mean, if there was a race to sit out for me, it would be this race because I don't really fancy any of the Europeans and I don't know enough about the Americans, but this would be a race I'd lean more towards Scott to give us a guide on the American raiders.
Over to you, Scott.
I wish I could be more helpful. I totally agree. This is probably the most difficult race on the entire card. They're just about all in with a chance. The Chad Brown runners are not necessarily his sort of top type. He tends to improve horses sort of coming from Europe, mostly from France. I mean, he gets horses from Jean-Claude Rouget and then runs them on a couple of minor races here, and then they just kind of explode with a huge European style turn of foot. I think probably whoever gets the best trip, put a gun to my head. I mean, Pizza Bianca, Bobby Flay, the famous chef who's on the board of Breeders' Cup, owns the horse. You can't miss those orange and gold block silks. Christophe Clemence is an exceptionally good trainer. But yeah, it's absolutely wide open. I would be hard pressed to, even if I could go a 5 deep trifecta combination, I'm staying away from this race.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Bob Baffert, very, very strongly represented in the juvenile. One of the shortest price favourites maybe of the meet here, and Jack Christopher, who again is absolutely perfectly drawn in gate one. And is your idea, Scott, of one of the good things of the meet?
Yeah, now here's where Chad Brown, again, mostly known as the turf king of U.S. racing. He has done extremely well also with dirt 2-year-olds, particularly ones sort of stretching out. I mean, 2-year-old racing in the U.S. is totally different from the U.K. We don't start running our 2-year-olds until like May or June, and it's difficult to fill any race until come Saratoga or Del Mar. They don't even start going 7 furlongs until sometime in mid-August. But the speed figures of this horse, its pedigree doesn't scream out, distance, but a small factor to consider, though, it's never been around 2 bends. And Del Mar, the Milano 16th races, they start, a half a furlong past up the stretch from the winning post, and the horses have to negotiate a bend. I mean, Jack Christopher's mile race at Belmont Park it's a much bigger track. It's a 1-turn race. I mean, who knows with a Japanese horse? I mean, they don't ship over here for the sushi. So it's a wide open race. Again, Jack Christopher, yeah, if he was a good price and 2-to-1, but you're not going to get that on the horse. I have to say a little bit about PIPPED. That would be sort of my dark horse for this race. Mark Cassey, extremely good trainer, extremely good with 2-year-olds. Gunrunner's turning out to be a really good sire. The horse has the pedigree. It's only a second crop, but his horses have improved with distance, and it does have a race over the Del Mar track, although it was beaten by Baffert's horse. So another wide open race. I wouldn't take a short price in this one, and it's hard to say. I don't like Baffert's horses generally. I mean, ever since the whole Medina Spear Kentucky Derby thing, he's been under a cloud psychologically, and he's just he did not have a strong Del Mar summer meet. He kind of picked up towards the end. He's lost a few owners, but I don't know. I mean, I tend to downgrade Baffert in the last sort of 4 months since all the craziness of the Derby.
I'd love to actually talk about that at more length. We will talk about that more in our second day, because obviously Gamine is going to come up, and Gamine is a very central horse to that whole conversation. Do you have any opinion on this, Bill? He's putting up Papa Cap as a kind of a long shot here. It's going to be something like 25, 33 to 1.
Yeah, I agree with Scott. This is probably one to, if you're going to throw a few quid at an outsider, it's probably the race to do it. Jack Christopher's going to be short, ticks every box. Draw, everything's right. They tend to get beat. Anyone who knows Breeders' Cups, and Scott's knows them better than anyone, these horses don't always win. And the one I'll just throw out there at a massive price would be Double Thunder, number 5. He's got blinkers on for the first time. He ran a bit lazy last time, and he's got loads to him. He's a 33, 40 to 1 shot. He's got loads to do on the book. But if that snaps him back into a bit of form, he could easily hit the frame, and you get horses like that can hit the frame. And maybe the play is Jack Christopher with a few big outsiders like Double Thunder and Papa Cap 4 and 5. Maybe that's the way to play it in the Quinella.
Papa Cap 28 to 1 with Star Sports, and don't Bill, don't forget to check out the website if you do want to see our specials on the day as well. We're going to finish up with the final race of the day, which is a fascinating juvenile turf. Over to you on this one, Bill. I know Aidan O'Brien brings Gloom Tawn in here, who's a lightly raced son of Kodiak. He won at Leopardstown last time. He says he's quite a strong horse. He thinks he's ready for this, and he thinks he's a horse that doesn't do much when he hits the front. And the fact that he's drawn at 8 as well, I imagine Ryan Moore is going to ride this horse for a little bit of pace. But the big thing here is the Godolphin duo, really, Bill, and Modern Games, who's been very impressive the last couple of runs. Obviously steps up from 7 to the mile, which shouldn't be a problem at all. How do you see this going?
Yeah, well, obviously Charlie Appleby holds a massive, strong hand here with both Modern Games and Albar, and they've drawn really well. They've got gates 1 and 2, so they're in the right place. William Buick has chosen Modern Games, and that's why he's the clear market leader. But he doesn't have the experience of Albar. He's probably more classy. I think his trainers come out and said as much. But Albar, I like. I think he's probably the value play. Looking at the prices, I think Modern Games is pressing towards 2 to 1, and Albar's drifting towards 8 to 1. And I like his 2-turn experience. I like the fact that Kieran Fallon's been doing loads of work on him at home, and he's travelled, and he's just got that bit more experience. And Modern Games may be a classier type, but I love the guts and the ballsiness of Albar, and I think he'll run really well with Frankie Dettori, and he'd get my vote.
Scott, this is a race that the Europeans have done well in. Aidan has won 4 of the last 10 renewals. That's not to say it's going to definitely be up for export here. What's the best of the home runners?
I don't know. It's Charlie Appleby and the Boys of Blue all the way for me. I mean, he has plundered the Group 1 grass races in the U.S. this summer. I mean, he's taken 2 at Woodbine. He's won at Belmont. He's won at Saratoga. Albahar didn't beat a whole lot of Woodbine, but as Bill said, he shipped. He's been on a North American turf course. The Summer Stakes is a sort of a key trial for Breeders' Cup juvenile races. A lot of the winners and place horses have come out of it. The domestic horses that, a lot of them are really lightly raced. It's just hard for me to look past the 2 Godolphin runners, but I mean, Tis the Bomb would be up there. I mean, that race at Kentucky Downs is a really good race. The Kentucky Downs Juvenile, that's a European style turf course. And he had a lot of really good late kick. I mean, a lot of it's going to depend on how the race sets up, but I've seen the Appleby runners, the ones that have pace tend to be well placed. Frankie will place Albahar well. I have a hard time seeing past Godolphin, and I would go at the prices. I'd definitely go with Albahar. The U.S. and just as an aside, I mean, Glanthane, I wasn't impressed with his. He didn't beat a whole lot in the race at Leopardstown, and actually I bet against him.
No, he didn't, and the form hasn't worked out either.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the rest of the U.S. horses, I mean, Chad Brown's always got something up his sleeve. Grafton Street is. Again, Mark Casse, I rate him very, very highly, but I can't see past Appleby. I'm going to be personally betting a reverse exact on those 2.
Yeah, Grafton Street's a horse who was behind Albert last time. Just briefly, any view on Tis the Bomb, whose daddy Hitted the Bomb won this race for Aidan O'Brien?
Yeah, well, as I say, of the Americans, that's the one that I would opt for. Kenny McPeak's a good trainer. The horse has traveled. He's won in Kentucky. He's run over 2 different kinds of turf courses. The Keeneland turf course, which was, of course, the site of the Breeders' Cup last year and again next year. That's a good race. He beat some good horses. He would be my top pick of the home-based contingent.
I was so frantically looking up my notes, I actually missed you giving that selection, but I will not miss you giving your nap of day 1. Or as you say, the lock of the day over there.
Well, I mean, the 2-year-old filly, but I can't give up 1 to 5 on shots. So I don't know. My top play I think Albahar would be my value play and also my nap of the day each way. Right. If he's 8 to 1, lump on each way.
So we're getting a nap from you that's actually not even an American horse, which we probably should read into. Bill, what's your nap? Your lock for day 1.
Well, I was going to go Albahar, but I won't if Scott does. I'd say I'd probably look for a bit of value in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, the 950. And I think that the one-timer will outrun his odds. I think he's about 7 or 8 to 1 one-timer. I think he can go really well against the European Raiders.
Yeah, the one-timer is 6 to 1. I'm going to give Twilight Jet in that race just on the basis that Michael O'Callaghan is so positive about the horse. He's a very likable way of going. He's drawn 1, as you say. He hasn't really run over a bend before. That shouldn't be a major problem. I imagine he's been given plenty of prep for this. That was the first day of the Zoom call for the Breeders' Cup, but we have a much bigger show coming up for a massive day 2, which you can watch over the next 24 hours. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we will be back with day 2.